All right, there. You should be able to hear me now. I just had to get
Gotcha.
the intro, get it live there. And so everybody kind of off tonight. This is Dr. Hill, usually with no Kings on the Hill, but tonight I'm filling in for Eddie here with Darrell Becker with Content Safe CO. I'll let him introduce himself and kind of give you his little bio, and then we can kind of we'll flow it from there since I wasn't really prepared much for tonight, but we'll see how good I can do it off the fly.
Right on. It's great to join you, Dr. Hill. And yeah, I'm Darrell Becker, our company contentsafe.co. What we do is we take shows like this and we grab it, say from YouTube or Rumble, and replicate it automatically, just like we're tracking your channel. That's what we do for our clients like this. It's tracking it and says, "Oh my God, you got a new show. There's a new Patriots Prayer network show is up now." And automatically it registers, and then it goes over there and gets replicated up on Odyssey and Brighteon and BitChute, and if possible, band.tv, archive.org. We have a series of destinations. So that means that those places, that's where people go when you want to see something that frequently it just gets bumped right off of YouTube. And you can't trust big tech like that. You put your stuff up there on Odyssey, on BitChute, on Rumble, on Brighteon, it's going to stay there. And that's what we do there. And so, yeah, I mean, I use Content Safe myself because I'm also a client of my own company. I like to replicate my show. I do the MediaThink show, mediathink.com. I like to do pattern recognition and basically help people make a more accurate map of reality. I kind of like get to go all over the place. And I've been in healthcare for 28 years now, Dr. Hill. I got my license of acupuncture, but I've been studying a lot of different modalities. I get to help people with their health and go from
Yeah.
illnesses and injuries back to a trajectory that makes sense. And we talked off air about how you got to spend your time with a chiropractor. That's how I started, as an assistant to a chiropractor.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got some stuff in common,
Well,
right?
yeah, that's kind of how I did. But obviously, I need to get my doctor in law and policy. But no, what I've noticed is like this last week, I usually do my show Wednesdays at 5 p.m. So yesterday, and it actually most of the time when I put it on Facebook on like YouTube, once it goes after live's over, it's like they hardly any views or gets pushed out hardly any after that. I mean, I know we've got the Patriot Prayer Network on Q Broadcasting that's like an actual channel on Q. So I know we've got that, and obviously we stream on Rumble, X, Facebook, YouTube, sometimes Twitch or Kick, just depending on who it is or who we're streaming with. So it kind of just changes from there to there. But yeah, so I obviously it'd be nice to have that more push. I didn't know he was looking at anything else or what all we'd had going on, but I know the more you can get past these algorithms and get pushed out, that's the better, because that's the hard part, is getting past the algorithms or getting the content out there that they don't want to sit there and suppress or hide because you want to cover topics or talk about touchy stuff. And then they want to say it's misinformation. I'm like, how is discussing opinions misinformation? It doesn't make sense. It's like, that's why it's called an opinion. it's,
Oh, it
it's,
makes sense. It's the bottom line called perception management. This has been going
yeah.
on since way before we were born, since before our grandparents were born. Perception management means you just got to control what people have access to, and that's been going on for a while. So that's what we do. But the other point is, hey, you can grow your audience if you're up on more channels. So it's not just automatically like the next video that you put up there gets automatically uploaded. We also can just take a platform, pick one, like say, Odyssey, say Brighteon, pick any of them, by BitChute. We can just go and backfill that, like show by show, like automatically, like day and night. Our computers and servers would be running just to upload all of your shows back on that. So now it looks like you've been there for a long time. Now you have like an archive that are built up. So, we've done that for various clients where it's like several thousand shows are uploaded onto a new platform. You haven't been on Brighteon before? Well, in a few weeks, all of your stuff is now on Brighteon. And now we got the next show and the next one after that. And that's kind of like, it's just like you're saying, hey, do you want to have more eyes and ears on your show? Is that what you like? Because that's what we do.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, because you don't, and especially this industry, you don't make money without views. I mean, and the trick is getting in front of the right that's why I can't wait we're going to CPAC next week. Well, not this next week, but the week after. And I can't wait because there it's like everybody that is going to be there and we know will be a possible viewer, a possible subscriber, because they're all going to have that in line of the kind of the values and the stuff that we talk about and everything that we're doing. But when you're getting pushed out across Rumble or YouTube or Twitch or Facebook or whatever, you might have to go through 20, 100, 200, 300,000 views just to find 10. And so obviously, I mean, you need millions just to get a couple, you need to get put out in front of a million people just to find maybe 5, 6,000 actually will really like your content. And that will give you paid subscribers or people that continually come back and watch and engage and do stuff with your website after the fact or off from the regular show and everything. I mean, right now I'm just doing it one show at a time, because until I start actually monetizing enough to make money, I was like, people think that, oh, it's just easy to come on and do a podcast because, oh, I can talk for hours. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great until you actually have to figure out something to say for an hour straight without mumbling and going and the whole time. I was like sitting there every day trying to think of come up with content instead of repeating yourself every day, and then trying to definitely when you got to go into, if you're wanting to do it live and not recording, you got to come up with the thumbnail and the description and the title, all that usually before you go live. Because you're doing it live, you're not pre-recording. You don't have that chance to cut and 2-second takes and all that. It's live. Whatever comes out is what comes out. And I think it's funny that people think, oh, there's not. I know after I started doing, I started getting a lot more respect for when you see those guys on Fox News and stuff that maybe only be on there an hour a day. You're thinking, oh, they get paid all this money for an hour a day. But then when you see what actually goes into it, you're like, yeah, that's not. Even though at that level, they do have teams that do all their research for them, lucky bastards. But I mean, yeah, it's like all the research that you have to do, all the creation that goes into it. I mean, obviously that's why I like having a co-host, because it's easier or doing interviews, because then it's easier to kind of feed off of that person versus trying to come up with something to have a specific flow or content flow or subject flow to a whole hour-long show.
I used to think that exact same thing is so much easier doing an interview, doing a discussion. And right now, since I started Made You Think, I love doing a solo show because it's all recorded. I'm not doing it live. And I'm just having it all organized. And I don't have to depend on the other person being a great orator and not fumbling over their words. I don't have to depend on them like to do everything to hold up their side of the interest level. I can just go ahead and make the whole thing and just then insert the video clips and everything like that in post production. I mean, I love that, but I get it. Live means that you need to show up with an outline and be solid with your material. And if you're really going to get subscribers, if you're going to get people to pay money, I have a question, which is, how do you solve a problem for those people? What is the problem that you solve? That's what makes people want to pay money. You need to be able to have an answer to that. My show, MadeYouThink.com, I solve the problem of a more accurate map of reality. I show pattern recognition. That's what I do. For Content Safe, that's contentsafe.co, we solve a problem. You want more eyes and ears on your videos. What we do is we get more eyes and ears on your videos. We solve a problem. It's very simple,
Oh yeah, no, what I usually do is I have a script, I have a Elgato prompter, so I'll make an outline or a script from that. Like usually the way I'll break up my show is I'll do a soft intro, run the ad for Q Broadcasting, then do a monologue, and then each segment I'll do like a little intro to the segment, and then ask a question to my co-host, and then we'll just kind of go back and forth from there, debating, just kind of take the subject, I try to time it to a certain point, and then make sure I get enough time to cover the other subjects, but it just kind of goes wherever the subject goes per se. And I have noticed, I've been thinking about that, to start just doing my shows more towards the actual the constitutional and legal policy side of anything to do in politics versus just talking about the current topics of the day and stuff. So it's more, because it does feel like sometimes when we go more into the actual, because that's both of our strengths, mine's law and policy. He's actually an attorney, so his is more on the actual law side or the working side of it. Mine's more on the administrative policy side of it, the administrative, like constitutional House, Senate uh, rules, how legislation becomes to be, how it starts from nothing to actually what we get on as a law in the books, per se, is what everybody thinks. Oh, the Congress passed this new law. It's law. No, not. It's law, but it's nowhere near being in effect, because what Congress creates today is not really policy. It's a map. It's a suggestion. Then it actually goes to the individual administrative company, that the administrative agency that actually writes the full policy. And it could be 2 to 3 years before it actually goes into full effect, per se. And most people don't get that concept. They just think as soon as the president signs it, it becomes law. And I'm like, no, go read through it. Like the affordable housing bill that just came up, there's a bunch of cool stuff in there for zoning and stuff that I know is going to be great for affordable housing when it comes in. But everything's a 3 to 5 year study, because the majority of because of our separation of states and federal government, is a lot of the laws the federal government cannot make a state do. So it's a suggestion. Hey, you need to make a way to comply within this range, or we're not going to give you this money. We're not going to let you access these funds.
Wow.
And so
that's complex.
Yeah, then it's up to the states to actually come back with the policy to enact it, per se. The federal government just kind of is there to ensure that they're enacting the policy.
So like your niche market right there are those who want to know all about that. And I'm not sure, because I'm not in those spaces of affordable housing. I'm just in, I'm kind of more into, healthcare, investments.
I'll talk about that too. I mean, I can talk about anything to do with policy and legislation, whether it's investing, housing. I mean, my bachelor's degree is in finance and economics, double major, my master's and MBA with a concentration in project management. I work in affordable housing, but it has to do with financing, bonds, everything. City and city zoning, city housing authorities, county housing authorities, city council meetings. I mean, it's all those aspects. It covers finance, investment, kind of really anything, Supreme Court president, all that stuff. So it really can be anything that's law or policy in general. And that's what I was thinking about coming more to that is, and the tricky part is finding something to do every week, because there's not always necessarily a new perspective every week that comes up policy or constitutional wise or legislative wise from like the SAVE Act. It's been going on for months now, which is ridiculous, but it's like you can only talk about it so many times before people are gonna be like, oh, I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be what you are passionate about. And also, again, if it's solving problems for people, if you can demonstrate here's how it's useful, well, that's your audience right there. You've demonstrated that here's how it's useful for people who are actually in the business of affordable housing, in the business of tracking, smelling the legislation from afar, seeing which way the smoke is blowing. Like that's a niche market.
Well, and we also do it with like just constitutional, with anything legislative policy wise, like whenever any type of the big Supreme Court cases that come out, we'll try to read through that and give our analysis on the constitutionality of that and how that works. Is like with the most recent one with the tariff case that a lot of people didn't like. And I'm like, but in reality, when I sat back and looked at the tariff case, and the reason the ruling came out the way it was due to the repeal of the Chevron doctrine, because what they were looking at is that piece of legislation said that the president could enact an embargo. So the argument on that, the President Trump's cabinet at the executive or administrative line said, well, usually they allow lesser or. You can either do less than embargo or up to a total embargo. So a tariff is less than an embargo. But due to the Chevron doctrine being repealed, which means they no longer give that deference to the agency, the Supreme Court said, well, because it doesn't say specifically tax or revenue, it doesn't include tariffs. It goes like Congress can pass an amendment to that bill, to that piece of legislation, to make it include tax or tariffs and put the verbiage in there, or if they don't, then this is the wrong route for it to go, is what they were arguing. And so it was one of those things where it was taking that what would have been deference to the individual agencies and actually making the on ambiguous laws on an ambiguous piece of legislation, leaving it to the Supreme Court to make the decision on what Congress was meaning, what Congress meant at the time, not leaving it up to the individual administrative agencies.
So you ever hear of the Jones Act? That's a thing. You know how that works basically? Because I'm here in Hawaii, and I guess the audience for sure doesn't know about what the Jones Act requires goods shipped between U.S. ports to travel on U.S. built, U.S. owned, and U.S. crewed vessels. Okay.
Yep.
So the pain that is for us here in Hawaii is that, oh, there's all this awesome merchandise and it just can't land from Asia, from wherever, and just like from Australia, from anywhere, from wherever. It can't just ship directly to us. No, 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 no. First, it has to, basically, it has to go to a U.S. port and then go, but from there, go on to a U.S. built, U.S. owned, U.S. crewed vessel. And that
Which is
limits all the competition. It raises the shipping cost massively. And then, of course, where I am, nearly everything is arriving by sea.
everything, yeah.
So, right. This is what has made a lot of your usual stuff expensive. Coconuts are affordable here.
Yeah,
But
but you would think that
affordable.
I would think
Yeah.
there would be a way to get around that effect of, okay, you've got ports in Hawaii. So too bad they can't adjust that crude vessel to be a semi, because then that just mean everything would have to come out of the port on a American-owned semi truck and semi driver. I mean, if it didn't have to actually be converted to an American ship, or too bad if they didn't just have an old U.S.-owned freighter just sitting there in the dock and everything unloads on it.
Just get rid of the Jones Act. You see, this is the problem with a gangster state. All states are gangsters. Please understand. Like I'm not romantic about this. I'm just more realistic about that. Every single government is all pretty intertwined. They all have their masters up there at the BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street level. They have their masters. They're just pretending to be separate and in competition. They're not. And they get to do this kind of economic arbitrage, etc., like making the Jones Act, like making tariffs. It's all for show and for play. Like there really is no Ukraine-Russia war. Those are just two corporations pretending to be at war and then expending munitions at the cost of many lives. That's all that's really about. But that takes like a higher level. I don't know how much people can, because
no, I agree. I agree to a point with that. Is like I've said before, is like the majority of, like, everybody always talks about, oh, let's raise the tax rate. I'm like, that never hurts the little guy, the middle class guy. I said, the rich guy who's saying, oh, we're fine if you raise taxes. I said, they're the ones lobbying for all the tax cuts that they're never going to pay. I was like, it's the little smaller business that's got a couple million in assets, but doesn't have millions of dollars in cash that ends up getting hurt by those taxes, not the super rich corporation that is supposedly paying them. But they don't pay them because they've got write-offs for their yacht or their private jet or whatever.
They can outsource or basically like put the expenses off somewhere else. That's what being wealthy is all about. That's what being incorporated is about. I think you have to be a commie idiot to just think that that taxes are going to help you or anyone, or that as if, say taxing 9% or 2% of Elon Musk to solve world hunger. Yeah, let's look into that. Like that's, again, that's only like a fool story. That's a little, here's my tiny little violin kind of thing. That's a story for fools to believe in. Meanwhile, what's the real impact that you're going to make in your life? That's always the question I have. Like, while you're debating and thinking about the actions of powerful and very wealthy people far away, what are you doing in your personal life right now? Like, I just came from the gym today. What did you do? That's what I always have to say.
Well, pretty much my day is currently right now is sitting here and either doing content or working on papers or whatever for my doctoral degree, and then watching the kids while because right now I'm trying to find a full-time job. I mean, I would love to do this full-time, but yeah, that's going to take some really good luck at CPAC and just hitting it off or getting the right. I mean, yeah. I wish I was making enough at this to do it full time, but that'd be a lot of income because I love doing it. It's it'd be enjoyable to do it all the time and be able to travel more and do stuff like CPAC and all that. Because I mean, everybody always used to joke when I was younger. They're like, "You should have your own talk show." I'm like, "Well, yeah." Back then, I was like, "That's not going to happen," because back then the only way to do it was either get lucky enough to be on a big TV station or get your own get on a radio. But even today, while yes, more people can be a podcaster and a content creator, now it's, yeah, you got a chance to do it, but it's getting past all that noise because there's everybody trying to do it.
Yeah, I think you can get your signal out there, as long as you don't have a lot of noise and static going on. But I like to work at it backwards. If you had 100 million in the bank, meaning you're not really focused on your job and making money, how do you want to spend your time? And that's like the first step. And then the second step would be, so how do you get to that wealth level? So right now, like what I look at is, what is the biggest appreciating asset of all time, and how do I get some? And when is the time of its bear market? And how do I get in on the bear market and then take out profit at the top?
Yeah.
And do you know what that is?
Yeah.
That asset.
Well,
Did I just like give it away to you, Dr. Hill? Did I throw
somewhat.
you
I'm
off?
not 100% what asset you're talking about. Obviously, it's time, but I mean, or
No, I'm
uh,
talking about like actual appreciable assets that go up in US dollar fiat value. The most appreciating asset in all world history time. Now, I'm going to emphasize it again. What is that I'm referring to? I'm referring to the Bitcoin, okay? And this is basically
yeah.
the story of the bear market. That means that the price goes down a little bit more, a little bit more, and will continue to dip to the bottom of sometime around January or so, 2027. That's the bottom. And so for folks who throw in now and they watch their assets value go down in US dollar appreciate right now for this next year, they pull out their hair because they're stupid. That's the masses. Smart people are like, I'm buying all the way down and I will continue to buy all the way up. And this is what has freed me. Like I used to be on these shows and be all sweating about like, where am I getting the money for my rent and things like that. Now I'm on this show and this is for the fun of it. I'm selling content safe to Patriots Prayer Network just for the fun of it, just because I like my company, but I don't
Yeah.
need to. I don't need to anymore. I'm done. Like I've essentially like
Yeah. I
I'm
wish
making
I'd gotten,
content because I love it.
I wish
You don't
I'd
have to
gotten
wish
in.
you should. All you have
I
to
wish I,
do
yep.
You don't have to do that, man. You don't have to wish you have to throw all in. You just throw in $50 a month or $10 like every 2 weeks like my daughter does. Like you don't have to do that if you could just hold on for 5 to 8 years.
Oh,
You
no,
don't have to
I'm
coulda,
no, I
woulda,
was saying I
shoulda.
wish I'd gotten into it when I was younger, like when it was cheaper, when I would, if I'd had the money to do it back then and done it more. Cause yeah, if I'd
Yeah.
done it even my, when I was going for my bachelor's degree, my professor was one of the initial adopters of Bitcoin. Like he was only our professor because he enjoyed it. This guy was, he had, this was back when Bitcoin was about at 30,000 a coin. He had over 10,000 coins. He had a crap load. He brought like 10, 20, 30, $40,000 worth of coins back when they were a couple cents a coin. He actually was on the white paper for the initial launch of Bitcoin. And so yeah, he was a multi-millionaire. He was just teaching because he liked it. He didn't have to teach. He had
Exactly.
enough Bitcoin to live the rest of his life on. And this was when it
Yeah,
was at 30,000.
I mean, anyone watching can do this right now. It's just that it's a slower process now. I mean,
Yeah.
there are other people who know how to risk their things and understand how to read the charts. They understand this because they can read the chart up, 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 down, up, 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 down.
Well,
I'm
we're going to see
taking
that
it
more right
here.
now because
Yeah.
Bitcoin is still being traded like a stock versus actually being used like a physical coinage or a dollar. Not to say that once if it becomes an actual like backed currency that it won't still adjust some, but it won't be as violent up and down as it is now because obviously now a lot of people are doing like they buy when it's down, sell when it's up, buy when it's down, sell when it's up. So you see that you'll see a lot of those extra dives because people are selling and buying it like it's a stock share versus buying it and keeping it like it's actual money per se. Whereas
I
somebody just
think that, yeah, I'm sorry to butt in, but I mean, have you heard of Gresham's law? Because that's a little bit of what you're not saying right there. Do you know what that
Yeah.
means? Okay, for the audience, the Gresham's law means that people, they like to spend bad money, that's US dollars right now,
Yep.
and any other type of national currency is even worse than US dollars. And people like to hoard good assets. That is the Bitcoin, it's gold, it's silver, it's certain types of real estate, but that has a holding cost. Bitcoin has no holding cost.
Yep.
There's a thing like that. People are always going to do that. It's an asset. It will never be a currency. It's always going to be an asset. It's depreciating. And no, I'm sorry. It is deflationary. Like our
Yeah.
dollars are inflationary. They keep making more. There's already like, literally
Yeah.
maybe
Bitcoin's maxed out a certain number. Mm.
there's hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins that are permanently lost. Permanently. Like they will never be found. Okay. They were mined. They were put into a computer. They just forgot about it and they lost it. And they will never be found again. It's like worse than having it sunk into a spaceship that's just sent out way past Pluto. It's you're not going to get them. And then there's just in general the folks who are just sitting on things and they ride up and down. And then the folks who obviously have some knowledge and they buy in and out. And still, the most of this Bitcoin is privately owned and held in small little wallets across the world.
Oh yeah.
This is
No.
a centralized asset. It settles accounts. It moves. It can be made anonymous if you go through other coins like Monero, like Bitcoin to Monero, Monero to a Monero wallet, and then from there back into Bitcoin. And now you can't see it. It's gone. Poof. No one
Yeah.
can track it now. You understand the technology, it just goes like this, peer to peer. You can't stop it. There's no freeze that you could put on it. I had a friend who's went through a divorce and all of his bank accounts were frozen during that period of time. Imagine how awful that is right
Yeah,
there when
and
your bank
why do you
accounts are
think the
frozen.
governments don't like Bitcoin? I mean, even though when I
Yeah.
meant Bitcoin being a currency, I meant it back in the currency. Like the American dollar used to be backed by gold. Obviously, it's not anymore. I was saying if you were to, obviously, you could
Yeah.
make Bitcoin into currency, but governments would never want to do it because of the fact that there's only a certain amount of Bitcoins that are able to come out. And once you're mined to that max amount, then the only value that coin has is based on the total value of the coins based on the amount of the mining and everything like that. So it's not an unlimited amount that it can become because it's the calculation
It's
ends at it.
deflationary.
Yeah.
There's 21 million in the infrastructure. And the
That's what it
last
was. I know I couldn't remember. I thought it was like 20. I couldn't remember the exact number, but I know it was somewhere in
The
there that was max.
infrastructure is 21 million, but what
Yeah.
now? Right now in circulation, we got about 19.5 million or so,
Yeah.
and the difficulty of mining keeps increasing, which means that the last coin will be mined in the approximately the year 2170, and that's
Yeah.
accounting for all of the changes of technology. Even still, the difficulty gets so supremely more and more difficult that the last coin gets mined in 2170, way after we're gone. So I
Yeah.
don't know what the asset's worth back up then because, again, its superpowers have to go away. But I don't see its superpowers going away in the next 5 to 8 years.
Well, no,
And all
because obviously its superpower is going to get more because the whole value is based on how much energy and stuff it takes to mine. That's your physical asset of it
yeah,
is
I
that
mean, that's one
you,
thing. I think the value
yeah.
is it can settle accounts at fairly lightning speed with no like waiting for a bank thing to flow
Oh, I
through.
know. But I was just saying
And
as far as how it creates value, and that's pretty much the way it's explained to me by my economist. If you look at how why gold's so expensive is because it's a metal, it's a physical being, and you've got to mine it. Like you can't just go out and get gold wherever. You can't go pick it up out of an ATM or something. You got to actually mine it. And the same thing with where the value in the Bitcoin comes in monetarily wise is how hard it is to and why each coin will become worth more than so much is because the amount of the computing power, the amount of energy, the amount of the mathematical time that it takes to mine that coin. Now, obviously, most people aren't mathematically figuring it out themselves. Now there's AIs that run it and everything like that. You've got AIs that just, but you're still having to spend a crap load of money on all the processing power in the servers that it takes to process that math equation.
well, silver is used industrially, and so therefore it has a commodity asset.
Oh,
Bitcoin is used industrially in a different way to settle scores between people with no distance as a problem. You can't do that with silver, and you can't do that with gold, and you can't do
Yep.
that with almost anything. You can't do that with international banking because the banks have crimped a hold over how fast things move. They make everything go at the speed of banking, which is extremely sadly slow. But
I agree
meanwhile,
with you. I'm not arguing against. I'm all
about
for
utility.
Bitcoin.
Yeah. I was just speaking, hey, like this is what it's for. Value is given because of what a thing does, not
Yep.
just because of an idea of a thing. And when people buy and sell the thing, that shows what the chart does. This is a downturn of the market. This is a great time to get in. What I was trying to speak to was called dollar cost average. That's why you can
Yeah.
go ahead, set it up, buy $10 every day, every week, whatever. And you said you have children. You should be like actually throwing down some into wallets for them. Like sometime down the line, like do they want to choose, do they want to open a business, buy a house, like like maybe like make a homestead, or use it up on some stupid education process of getting a degree? I did that. I don't recommend it. But I'm just saying I much rather have like the hard assets instead of
Well,
the
I,
intellectual.
I
But I'm just
I
saying
can't
if I
say
was going to put money aside, that's what I do.
I can't say I'll say ever since I got my degrees, a lot more doors have opened for me. So I think don't necessarily think I think the problem is that so many people today they just go out and think, oh, I can get a degree for anything and that'll get me a job. No, and that's the problem is these I've seen it happen where the counselor is telling, oh, you can go get a degree in anything and get you a job. No, you can't. If you're going to go get a bachelor's degree in French feminist studies, it ain't going to do anything. I mean, if you're going to go get it, I always tell my kids, I'm like, if you're going to go get a degree, make sure that the harder the degree is, probably the better chance of the job you're going to get because it means the less people are going for that degree and the more equity you have economically you have for the amount of the ability to get there. And those are going to be your higher paying ones. I'm like, the easy degrees like arts and whatever, I'm like, everybody does those. So there's probably not going to be much of a job for them. I'm like, because especially business wise, and this is, I've talked about this before, this is an issue with um, our education system right now is ever since the federal government started supplying all these federal backed student loans and everything, colleges have looked at what degrees can I create to make money that people are interested in. Even if there's just one or two jobs at every company, at like maybe 5 major corporations have one position for that job, we can make a degree for it.
So
Somebody
that's
loves it, they'll take
inflation
it.
of degrees. That like
Yeah.
you're just inflating the costs of everything, and then you're deflating the value of it. That's what happens when you inflate numbers. This is, of
Uh,
course, total nonsense in some ways because the wealthiest people I know, the high school dropouts, and definitely if they did pursue any bachelor, it was just to the bachelor level. All of the people I know, like myself, who have master's degrees, they work really their ass off to pay off the degree. I just met with a sensei of jujitsu, also an acupuncturist, and he is still paying off his whole thing. This is a horrible thing out there. I say like this: solve big problems, make big money. No need for a degree. We're in the 21st century. I hope I
Well,
didn't.
and I
Hope I
wish it
didn't.
was that way, but like before I had my degree, the jobs that I got making good money and got me into the fields that I'm in now, I would have never gotten without those degrees because I had applied for them before. And unfortunately, there's still so many people that they don't want to look at because they see that degree and they're like, okay, this they've got the knowledge, they've completed this, they've been able to do this, so we know that they've got really good common sense and that they can finish something that they've got that they can broaden and keep learning. There's not much of a limit on them versus if taking somebody who has no education and everything. And now, if you get lucky and you get in at the bottom and work your way up, sometimes that works. I know plenty of people have done it, but like I would, if it hadn't been wasn't for my degrees, I'd still be driving semis. And don't get me wrong, truck driving is not a bad job. It can make good money. They are, they're it's a they're heroes. Without them, our economy would shut down. I mean, you get rid of you. I always joke if you got the diesel tankers, diesel tank drivers to shut down for a week, our economy would collapse. Because the thing is all the semis that deliver your freight, and then even the semi trucks that deliver gas, all need diesel. Everybody's always
Yeah,
like,
I get
tell
it.
the gasoline trucks to go on. To they
I
always
said
tell.
thank you for your service back when you're being a semi driver like that. Thank you for your service, just like kind of military. But here we are, both degreed personnel, right? and I made my money with mostly like investments and not with the degree. You made your money with the degree, but if we're going to be realistic about it, yeah, like there's definitely things out there where, like in medicine, for example, the degree opens doors for me and it lets me go in, and it gives that certain like trust to my clients so they can trust
Yep.
me for medical care. I get that, and it was pretty specific type of training, but for most people, I mean, they especially they're signing on at age 17, age 18, and they have no idea what they're about to do, and all this money is being thrown down as like a loan that they're now like they can't just default on that like bankruptcy. You see, they're
No,
like there's
yeah, I
all these
got you. No.
vulnerable, stupid people who are signing up for this loan, and like Dr. Hill, they're not all like ready for this kind of thing. I'm
Well,
saying
yeah, I'm
solve
not.
big
I didn't go
problems
to.
is better.
I didn't go to college till I was in my 40s almost. I didn't start college till I
See?
was in my late 30s. I
You
waited
put
till
2
later
and
in
2
life.
together. You figured some things out first,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know?
that's also why most of my friends that I was growing up with, their grandkids are being raised with my kids because I waited till later in life. I expanded, figure out what I wanted, figured everything out, and then went for it versus trying to spend all that extra money looking for a degree coming fresh out of high school when you don't know what you want. Yeah. No,
Yeah, I mean, my daughter's 30 now, and the only reason, like, I promote, like, basically was supportive of her getting her bachelor's was because it was getting paid for. And so
yeah.
essentially that was like sleepaway camp and getting this degree, and it sort of smoothed a few jobs over for what she does, but reality, it's that's not making a lot of money. If she was left right now with the debt and having to pay interest on that education, this would be horrible for her situation. That'd be really, really bad, right? So it does come down to, can you afford it? If it was like a sleepaway camp where you're just getting to experience some wacky things and you have you're finding yourself, you may as well take that same money and go to Europe or something. I don't know. Or hope like maybe the non-violent part of Europe. I'm pointing to you, Poland, but so somewhere. But I think that what can I say? I'm not here to tell people what they're supposed to do. Everything has to be a case by case basis. Like whatever it is that has opened doors for you, Dr. Hill, is like obviously successful because here you are.
Yeah, I mean,
That
and
works.
honestly, another reason I'll say this is maybe it's certain things, podcasting and stuff, it doesn't hurt, but I'll tell you this, a lot of the ideas and stuff I had for public policy and everything wise before I had my doctorate was the same thing. Yeah, I've gotten a little more knowledge about the legal and the legal aspects and constitutional aspects of it. So they've changed a little bit, but not much. But if I tried to talk about half the stuff I did when it was just Mr. Hill, people would be looking at me like, "Oh, you're just some old white dude from Southern hick from Texas. You don't know shit." But second you put a DR in front of your name, they actually sit there and listen for a minute. And it's amazing that like you said, it gives when you can put certain things either in front of your name or behind your name, people will listen. They will give you that time of day where before, even though you may not be any more intelligent than you were before, you might have a lot of the stuff that I've learned in school, all it did was just solidify my earlier beliefs. Some of it did change some of my beliefs. The rest of it even deepened other beliefs more. But it's not like I just had any eureka moments during this time in school. The majority of it is because I've always been of pretty high intelligence. I've always been pretty much, I look at a lot of stuff that's common sense that most people look at like, huh? They'll look at like,
Like
what are you
what?
talking about? I'm
Give us
like,
an
it's common
example.
sense.
Give us an example.
Well, no, just like anything, just pretty much I see stuff, just look at something, I can see it. Like I can, like you see people sit there and you talk about quantum physics with them and they're like, huh? I'm like, I couldn't tell you how to calculate the certain things when it comes to quantum physics, but I understand the basics of it just from people talking about it. Like I can still get the concepts of the different theories and all that. Maybe I can't actually calculate the theories or figure them out, but I still have that basic understanding. I can still easily pick that basic understanding from reading something or looking at stuff when it comes to medical and all that. There's just certain stuff for people, like when it comes to computers or softwares. Like I can pretty much give me any new computer software and I can figure it out in 10, 15 minutes without a instruction manual. And
All
most
right.
people will be sitting there for 20, 30 years trying to figure out how to do it. they, unless they're showed how to do it, they don't, to them, it's unless they've been trained how to do something, they don't really know how to do it. And to me, it's always just looking at, that's why I liked project management stuff. Cause I was always, my joke was, is I was never a master of one trade. I was a jack of all, master of none. Like I always had that more higher 30,000 foot view where um, I can understand a lot of different stuff, and I'm really good at finding the people that are then good at that individual thing to do it. And that's why I always like project manage it, because I always got too bored with only learning one thing. And so in project management, your job is to be able to understand kind of a little bit of everything, whether it's civil engineering, architectural, stuff like that, and then being able to make sure that what the person's telling you is that they're doing is the correct way, or that is the fastest way they can do it. That to understand enough about it that you know if they're good at what they're doing, but not necessarily enough to be able to do it yourself.
Like there's that quote, right? A jack of all trades is a master of none. But here's the full quote. A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. And
Yeah.
this is what it comes down to. We're in the modern world. I don't have to know the code or an operating system. If I need to understand some aspect of how it works, I can ask my AIs to give me an interpretation. I can go ahead and have my tech guys go ahead and give it a once over to give me an idea of how it's used, what's going on, right? You're using here the StreamYard. I use Riverside.fm. They essentially come down to the same thing. We got the same kind of thing. Like the backstage studio, got the front stage, got all the effects and everything like that. It's
Yeah.
really all the same. I choose based on what it is that I'm doing. You choose based on what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the thing we have in common, Dr. Hill, is that we're making shows to help people have a better life.
Yep.
In the end of it all kinds of crazy things happened. Like I was here on the big island of Hawaii, and one island over, Lahaina, Maui, that right over there was this really abnormal fire event, right? Now I could have just taken in standard media and said, "Oh, looks like 100 people died." Or I could have gone on independent media and see on the ground independent media journalists showing hundreds of people burned in their cars. So obviously wrong about 100 people died when you have hundreds and hundreds. Total death toll is still an unknown. There's a lot of missing people from that whole event. And if you're stupid, you take the standard view of things. You're watching mainstream media. If you have a few functioning brain cells, you realize you need to go on more of the fringe places, OAN, Patriots Prayer Network, etc. And you realize you need to get in more sources and broader sources. But if you really need to know something, you need boots on the ground. You need independent journalists who are right there, holding up their phone, bringing their camera, and showing you what's what.
Oh, yeah.
This
And
is
that's,
what I try to promote.
and well, and that's what I always try to tell people when I'm on, like, I do TikTok lives all the time, and people will come on and they'll ask me, like, "Hey, I saw this today," I'm like, "It's BS." I'm like, if I cannot, if either one, if it's not somebody literally on a camera telling it to you, filming it from that you can verify that it's a not AI and it's an actual live or current feed that hasn't been edited. I said, or you can at least verify it across like 5 or 6 different good sources like the AP, Reuters, multiple different places like that, then the bet is it's probably not real. I'm like, if it feels like it's a really big story, none of the big major assets are going to really bypass that. It may not be on their top page, but they're going to cover it. They're either going to talk bad about it, or they're either going to say that it's fake, or they're going to they're going to go with it. But either way, they're either going to counter it or they're going to follow it. They're not going to just ignore it most of the time.
Sometimes they try to. I'll tell you that they for
do,
sure.
but
I remember I watched like a whole tsunami earthquake thing going on in, it was pretty much like Russia right over there. This was just last year, and literally all the major networks didn't cover that. Like I had to, like, it was all boots on the ground, TikTok, like independent researchers covering it. I'm saying sometimes there's a reason why. When it's kind of like seeing the effect of an eraser. It's like, what drew your attention there? Nothing. because they just made this line of an eraser where they're not saying anything about this one topic. Um, it, I think it's really telling. I think honestly, you have to be kind of old and naive to be following mainstream media. I think it's really raw sewage. I'm impressed with people who have the stomach to watch mainstream media of any kind at all. Like I'm talking
What
anything that has a commercial in it.
But what I'll do with the mainstream media is I'll use that. I'll go look at the sources and I'll dig deeper into those sources, deeper into the sources, and then go from there and find the truth. Because a lot of the stuff, because these days there's so much out there that a lot of times it's hard to tell what's real and what's not. I mean, and I've seen it, like some of the stuff that, like this thing about, oh, Trump launched the nuclear war plane to launch all nuclear weapons or something a couple days ago, and I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with that. As actually, it's a big Faraday cage of communication systems. It's always flying. I was like, it's constantly circulating the globe. I said, it is for if there is an end of the world type of destruction that wipes out all of the command structure in the United States, that people can, whoever's left, can still communicate. It is literally a communications plane. It has nothing to do with, I was like, now it could launch weapons if it has to, but the only time that the weapons launching would be going through that plane is if there was nothing left on the ground. If they were to have wiped out NORAD and the president and everything. If you just had some general in some bunker, then yeah, you might use that plane as like a last resort, mutually assured destruction type thing. But they're not up there so they can just go start launching nuclear warheads. That's not what it's for. And it's like stupid stuff like that I'll see go online. I'm just like, the people like, I'm like, usually when it sounds like it's that off the walls, it's probably that off the walls. I'm like, I was like, you got to really, I was like, I was like, a lot of conspiracy theory stuff has its theories and its truth to it, but you really got to pay attention. You really got to do your research.
Well, you know where that phrase came from, right? Conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know it. I just don't have it personally like on the tip of my tongue, but yeah.
Okay. It was definitely a memorandum, I believe through the CIA, to say exactly, hey, anyone who questions the Warren Commission, so now we're talking right around circa, 1963, 64, 65, anyone who questions the validity of the Warren Commission, that it was a lone gunman, call them conspiracy theorists. And this was the message that they sent to the very controlled sources of media back then. And now
I know it was our CIA. I'm the type of person that if I can't remember the exact thing, I don't like to say it, just so that way nobody can say, oh, you fake news, or you said this and it's that. If I don't have those notes right on the tip of my tongue or something, I'll just leave it alone. That way nobody can say that, oh, he's just talking shit. That's one thing I have learned about on here is I have to be really careful about when I'm talking about stuff. I have to make sure that I'm remembering it correctly before I state it.
Yeah, it is good. I mean, that's why I got my virtual assistant here. CIA dispatch 1035-960, issued by the Central Intelligence Agency in 1967. Yeah. After skepticism grew around the assassination of John F. Kennedy and the Warren Commission report, the memo advised media and academics to counter critics by labeling their claims as conspiracy theories. The term itself existed earlier in legal and historical writing, but this directive helped popularize its use as a rhetorical tool to frame dissent as irrational, discouraging further public questioning and protecting the official narrative. There you go. That's basically it. You could look up that document.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's not that hard. That's why we have.
I remembered it was the CIA. I remembered that all, and that's why I said is a lot of times, obviously, and that brought out the what we call tin foil pot hat conspiracy stuff, but obviously, and that's another thing you got to really watch is I don't know if you've ever watched him, but AJ, the Y-Files.
Oh yeah, I love AJ Gentile.
Yeah, because you have to really look into there's for every conspiracy theory that's possibly halfway true, there's somebody else out there also sowing disinformation, so a lot of times by the CIA, to then push it even further. And it's so hard to try to figure out what the real truth is because you got so much misinformation with the real information to counteract the truth. But
Oh,
I understand why they don't. Why we'll never really know if there's ever little green men or see any of that, because majority of the people, if they really knew about it, they would their all their beliefs would collapse, society would collapse, they would just go off the walls, they'd go crazy. And a lot of us just are not mentally prepared for to know that there's races out there that are more advanced than us, more technologically make us look like the cockroach under our boots.
that's the story. But everyone that I've met, they're automatically assuming there are aliens.
Oh,
Like
I know there are.
literally
It's
everyone that I've met is assuming that there already are aliens.
well, the
Like,
problem is I know a lot of people who don't believe them, but I'm just like, okay, I'm like, just think about this scientifically. Just the known, I was like, just the known mapped areas that we know in outer space, there's trillions of of Goldilocks planets. So to believe that we are the only intelligent species in all of that area is just, it's mathematically impossible. If you know statistics or math, it's impossible. Now, when you try to think about, okay, a advanced civilization that's more advanced than us or advanced enough to be able to travel light speed or break all that, that's totally different. Those numbers, then your percentages get lower. But as far as just another um intelligent species that's at least to our level, to not have that would be, it's just infinitesimal. It's ridiculous. The scientific, I can't remember the exact equation, but yeah, it's highly up there.
I think the problem is about certainty. People love to think that they're certain that they have the truth about a topic, especially if they spend a lot of time looking into it. I did this in medicine. I thought I was certain about, I would say, viral caused diseases, but then I did research into virology. And now I know better because I found that an entire field of biology and a big chunk of much of what is called biology, but especially all of virology, has no controls for independent variables, never isolates a single virus from an actual sick organism, human, animal, plant, etc. Never. And that's a big deal, but a lot of people just don't know that. And then for 22 years of my medical practice, I made an assumption that this had been done. Certainty feels like strength, but it's really just comfort wearing armor. That's my opinion. The world changes faster than rigid minds can adapt to. I build my self-esteem on finding how many new ways can I have gotten it wrong and what's potentially a more accurate map of reality. Most people, they build their self-esteem by keeping the same conclusions. They kind of dig their heels in.
Yep.
That's a liability to me.
Well,
Yeah.
and even science has warned us about this, but it also talks about, it's like, in reality, the more we learn about science, we should actually learn the more we should start realizing the less we really know. But unfortunately, because like you were saying, we've gotten to the more point of where as we learn more science, we think we know everything instead of actually realizing, because we want that, like you were just talking about a minute ago, you want that certainty, versus in reality, we should be sitting there going, as we learn more and as what used to be laws now become theories, or where theories become laws and stuff changes and stuff goes, it's like, that's literally, to sit there and say that, oh, this can't be true without trying to actually prove it and without doing enough research or enough trial and error to either prove it as a theory or not as a theory or as a law, is literally the whole concept of science.
Yeah, it's literally in the name, science, that of knowing, that it's a process, not like an end point, but there's a lot of lazy people out there that were trained in the 15,000 hours of compulsory schooling to raise their hand, say the answer that the teacher likes, and receive those high grades for saying the answer that the teacher likes. And they build their self-esteem on that certainty. It started young, that you get them young, that kind of thing. This is why I try to help say all people, you guys with young children and stuff, get your kids out of that. They have to be self-directed learners. This is a world where the self-directed learner, my unschooled, like homeschool child, is going to hire your honor student. That's how that works. Like they're the ones who are going to be entrepreneurs, make a business, and hire the honor student who just follows the rules. That's how
Right.
it works. They can make the wealth. But if you're married to certainty, if you really love to be certain about a thing, I think you're in for a bad time. You probably have already caused bad times for yourself and those you love. It's already happened. It's just my
Uh,
opinion.
and all the channels you were talking about real quick. So on the ones that you do with your software, so are those kind of like are they similar to Rumble, or just more for like audio versus visual, or
Oh
that's
yes, like going back to content safe. Yeah. So, BitChute, like Odyssey, like they're, BitChute and Odyssey and Brighteon and bands.tv. I mean, these are all video channels. They're just like Rumble, but you go on Rumble, you'll have commercials. That's the difference. Like you go there, you're gonna have to deal with that. Do you know how many millions of dollars went into Rumble in the last 2 years? Hundreds of millions of dollars of big bank equity went into Rumble. So how long is it before Rumble also might step up to censor? Hasn't happened yet. We can't prove that it's happened yet,
well,
but
no, I mean
it's already
they're
happened
like,
on YouTube for a long time.
yeah, I
So
mean
like, I'm just saying,
Rumble's community guidelines are like a paragraph, but we'll see how long that stays.
yeah, we'll see how long. I mean, I would love it to like go ahead and surprise me that if you could have hundreds of millions of dollars of bank equity go into a video platform like Rumble and not have it turn into a new type of YouTube, that because again, that's going to tank the cost of, like people go there because they didn't want to be censored. They will
Well,
also leave there and they'll go to the OG like BitChute or
and
or
that's why
Odyssey and Brighteon.
and that's why the Patriot Prayer Network really has, even though Eddie has gotten offers for like sponsorships and stuff like that, where we could actually start monetizing as individual the talent could start monetizing. He hasn't taken any of them because of the fact that usually when you start doing that, they don't want you to say certain stuff or talk about certain subjects, or they want to have a say in what talent you get or what like, and that's what you start having is they want to make they want to make sure that you're not going to be against any of their clientele or whatever, and it gets kind of hard. So I guess on yours, I guess the benefit to bitch and all that is you get more viewers, but you got to kind of monetize through your system self, because obviously since there's no commercials and stuff, there's not probably really a way to monetize on it itself.
Well, no, that's not totally true. There's always ways to monetize, but I think the simpler version is you can find people who have products and services that are in alignment with your show, and then talk to them and say, "Here's the deal. You give a discount to our subscribers. We're going to like make a separate subscriber kind of thing. They will subscribe to us here at Patriots Para Network, and they will then get a discount from you. And then I will mention you, two of you, at the beginning or end of each show, like that. We're going to like keep rotating through. That would be a way. That's how Jack Spirko at the Survival Podcast does it. He's not beholden to those sponsors at all. He is only using them to say, hey, you guys, I'll mention you, and you guys give the discount to our subscribers, the people who are paying for the show. And that way, when you're subscribing to Patriot Prayer, that way they would actually get something that's tangible. They would actually like say, I'm getting 10% off or 20% off of XYZ company.
Yeah.
It's monetization, but then they have to actually deliver. They actually have to deliver good quality goods and services to the real people who are the actual subscribers. That's the way it works, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's look. You picked my brain for monetization. Like that's the way it works. You need to deliver something to them, so then you're connecting what are the goods and services that are in alignment, and then obviously then you can dish that out. Say, hey, do you guys want a discount at My Pillow, or what is the company that's in alignment with Patriot Prayer? And we forgot to start with a prayer, so we could end with one.
But well, I mean, some of us do that, some of us don't. Some of us are a little
Oh,
more like it just all depends. I think
it could be a
Eddie's
private thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Eddie's like Eddie'll some like I know Eddie does prayer sometimes. I know some of it the other content doesn't, but pretty much on the Patriot Prayer Network, it's just we're all really kind of conservative Christian aligned, that aspect as far as the type of content we're talking about. Sometimes it's some of the people, they just do just general like all around whatever's going on in the world type thing and discussing. Sometimes it's Eddie sometimes likes to do a lot more of the conspiracy theory stuff and the uh talk with a lot of the different stuff, governmental and everything like that, and likes to cover a lot more of that. I like to stay on more of like the the legal and the. I mean, I will talk about Christianity and the Bible and everything, and I'll talk about that aspect of it. But I like also talking about sticking to more like constitutional legislation, policy, uh, stuff like that. So it just really depends on who does it, but it's all. I kind of got lucky that Eddie brought me on because I've been doing this less than a year. So the benefit of partnering with him was that it bypassed years and years worth of growth for me that I would have had to do by myself, which would have taken probably made it a little less fun to do. Because I definitely
Yeah.
wouldn't be going to CPAC and actually broadcasting live from CPAC sitting in Media Row next to News Nation and Fox News and CNN and MSNBC. We'll be sitting right up there with them.
As
So
you
yeah,
should,
that's
because those are you're talking about some of the dinosaurs, but then OAN, and other rising stars. And I got to see that in the promo, Tom McDonald there, love his work.
yep.
I saw like a bunch of the celebrities that all promote this. Like,
Yeah,
you guys
he
got
actually
it
just
going
had
on.
Tom. He just had Tom on his show like a week ago, or earlier this week. He had Tom on there. He had Daniel DJ Daniels and his dad on there because all the stuff that's been going around about them and everything. The picture that he had with the guy from My Pillow, that was him chasing him down at a CPAC a couple years ago.
That's perfect.
Doing an interview. So yeah.
I'm so psyched for you. You're gonna have so much fun going over there. And yeah, I'm gonna aim to like I'll try to like maybe next year CPAC, but like I have to like be careful, it's like I really the point of living in Hawaii is I want to be here. I can't be traveling every single month. Like that's not my life, like my life is I like to actually be here, but like I tend to travel every 2 or 3 months
Yeah.
and you get it. Yeah.
I mean, I guess the benefit down there is beautiful weather, and you really never don't have to deal with hurricanes too much. I mean, every once in a while, well, there's cyclones over there, not hurricanes, but
No,
yeah,
they're
I mean,
hurricanes, but I'm on the Big Island. That's different. The Big Island has two 13,000-foot tall mountains. And so what that does is a storm comes in, hurricane, whatever, and it sees those mountains and it's got a choice. You can go north, you can go south. Like that's then like if you try to go directly in, what's going to happen is it's going to hit that and it's going to spin downwards.
oh
That's what
yeah, well,
happens.
it's the way with the wind. It's not really the mountains, but it's the winds and the air circulation and stuff in that area. But no, I got you. I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because people used to think, oh, because we live in the mountains, tornadoes won't hit us until an F5 went right through there and wiped them out.
No, I'm not mainland. This is an actual in the middle of the ocean, and like literally they come from the east because that's the flow of air. Air
Oh, I
flows
know.
in
Yeah, I
from the
know.
east,
No, I'm
and
just
it,
saying
it
there's.
literally it has to go north or south around those very large mountains, and then it hits the other Hawaiian islands. Like, so people don't understand. I'm on the Big Island. I'm not on Oahu. It will literally send the storm to Oahu or Maui or Kauai
Yeah, no, I
or
know what you're
any of
talking
the
about.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's just the way the
it's
jet streams and stuff work there. But people used to think that tornadoes couldn't go over mountains or through mountains, and I was like, no, it's usually just because the way the winds work through mountains and stuff, they go around or don't happen in there. But it
yeah.
doesn't mean they can't. They're rarer. Just like a hurricane, like you said, it can go right over those mountains. It's just going to die down a whole lot faster. It doesn't mean it can't happen. It just doesn't usually happen. And that's not to say that it couldn't do something really crazy and actually have the weather allow it to go through a mountain. But I mean, you never know these days with the way weather is.
No, you don't, and you never know these days in modern technology of the advancement of weather modification. You just don't know. Like, there's a topic I've looked into as I spent time on Made You Think going over that show, but I don't really know. I make no claims. I look into things and I try to understand. I try to get a more accurate map of this reality. But at the end of it, because I don't have to cling to certainty and being right, I can flex with my mind, just like the yoga people where you can flex and stuff. And I can
Yep.
think I don't have to be correct about all things. All I need to do is be able to flex with stuff. And yeah, I mean, this is the second time on Patriots Prayer, and I hope to get on again with Eddie next time. But like
I
like
hope I
now,
didn't
I
do
feel
too
more
bad
convinced.
for I know Eddie's been doing it longer than me, so he probably does a little better. I hope I didn't do too bad.
You did
Considering
great, man. Look,
didn't.
this is you did great. Yeah.
Well, the reason I did it more like we were just talking or hosting because I didn't have time to like research and write some questions down or even structure anything. It was just like I was in the middle of a TikTok live and Eddie calls me up and says, "Hey, I had a live schedule for an interview this time." He goes, "And I forgot I had my grandson's baseball game or something, or whatever." And he's like, "Can you jump in for me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I guess." I'm like, that doesn't give much time to prepare for an interview.
It's really good off the fly work, Dr. Hill. That was really cool.
Yep.
I think, if anything, yeah, like what I said, I hope it flows through like that. I hope you guys consider keep monetizing. I gave you like one version of monetizing strategy, but there's many that
Yeah.
are successful. You can't think like in 1900s in like 20th century terms anymore. Like
Well,
those years are over,
Well, I've got mine set up currently right now. Like if they do a certain level, get some access to a weekly blog or a daily blog I write, plus the show and stuff and whatever. And then if they get another level, that I can do some like actual like class course type like courses, whether it's financial literacy or anything like that, just one-on-ones more about constitutional law or anything like that or something like that. I mean, I'm still kind of changing it from there because it's one of those things like you don't want to really take the time to produce a course until somebody's actually signing up because it's like that takes a lot of work to film it and get it all scheduled up and set up and everything. And it's one thing I've also been trying to do is like engage people in the show. So like offer them the ability to maybe help pick the next topic or vote on the next topic or get a guest spot on the show or something, trying to at least engage the audience more with it for the subscriptions and stuff. I don't know. I've heard people that have had luck with that. It's just like more of if they feel like you're actually engaging with them and that they mean something, that they're important, that they have an effect on the show or the content, then they're more likely to spend money on it or put money into it.
Yeah. I mean, like I have to say, this is a spaghetti on the wall thing. Just keep throwing it up there and seeing like something will stick. I'm grateful for all the things that did stick. I'm grateful for the failures of things that didn't, since they all taught me things. Like,
yeah. I mean,
keep trying.
Like I probably would have started years ago, but my teeth had gotten so bad when I got out in the truck driving, like for the last couple of years, I didn't want to get in front of a camera because my teeth were so bad. And then finally end of 2020, beginning of 2026, into 2025, beginning of 2026, finally got it all done. So I didn't even start doing content creation until February of last year. And then I didn't do my first podcast until probably May, but I didn't actually start doing steady podcasts till August, September. And so I haven't even been doing podcasting for a year. I just now been doing content creation for a year, but it's like, I don't know how long he'd schedule you for, but if you got to get going,
I'm pretty much at the end of my rope. It's true. I got the next call to go to, but I mean, I think it's been great. I want to just go ahead, say, hey, we're ready to take on all of the Patriot Prayer Network shows, like all of them, just get them replicated up there and grow your audience, contentsafe.co. And yeah, I'm hoping to get through to Eddie because I got him in my phone here. And that's like, I'm hoping to get back, like when he can schedule it. Cause I miss that guy. It's been 2 years,
Yeah, it's just, I don't know how busy he is right now because he's still planning everything for CPAC, but hopefully it'll be soon.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna say after CPAC, it'll be then, and you go have a great time because that's what this is all about, make connections, like make it awesome, All
right, you too.
All right, have a good one.
You too. Bye.
My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough.
This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.
PPN, you're doing the right thing.
On the Patriots Prayer Network. Thank you all.
PPN on your bumper. I'm Tom McDonald. This is the Patriot Prayers Network. Check it out. Lots of good TV, lots of cool people. Tune in, keep it locked.
I'm the white boy with the middle fingers in the air, dog. We don't give a what. 100 white boys gonna hold me down anywhere, dog. We think that you suck. My patriots, the craziest. They ain't afraid of breaking fists on faces. If you really wanna taste of this, no safety tip. The same mistake and spray the clip. I pray you miss, cause if you don't, they gon' go wacko. Automatic gun smoke like tobacco. Never hit a lady, but it's pretty hard to tell if you're a girl or a they, them. There's these, that, those. I ain't never gonna take a knee for the anthem. Smack them. I don't give a damn, can't stand them. Gang full of randoms, fan with a handgun. Run up in your mansion, leave it all abandoned. I was raised to be brave to the grave. United States, we love the country that they've been corrupting. Go woke and go broker if you ain't awake. My people love this country and we're under attack. They banned us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is America.